All right, we should be live.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Crypto Azzy. Happy birthday, Crypto Azzy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Happy birthday, Crypto. Can we get a birthday song for Crypto Azzy? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. You know, black people, we gotta put some seasoning.
Stevie Wonder. You need to. That's how I get in. Stevie Wonder's Happy Birthday.
What did you do over the weekend?
I spent it with friends celebrating on a British beach called Broadstairs. We also had a barbecue, and yes, I've got to admit, I drank a lot. So I'm still recovering. And I rarely drink. I usually leave it to special occasions. So yeah, it was lovely. Weather held out, didn't rain, thank goodness. But yeah, it's good. How about yours? How's your weekend?
Pretty cool. I don't really do much.
Special occasions, so yeah, it was lovely. What? Mm-hmm. So you were saying?
No. Go ahead, finish. It was your birthday weekend, so you tell us.
Oh, yeah. I just turned up on the beach and in in the garden with the barbecue. So yeah, it was great. Just I felt the love, and yeah. Hopefully I'll stay, looking like this until my 90s. They say black don't crack, so I'll get a few more wrinkles, but I'll still be looking young, forever young.
Is that what we're worried about?
No. I mean, it's not
the Crypto Azzy. Crypto Azzy doesn't age. It's impossible, right?
As long as we're young at heart, and we still have the energy, and we're healthy. More importantly, we're healthy. That's health of mind, health of body, health of soul. We'll do well.
Good deal.
How about yours? How was your weekend?
Oh, my weekend, it was pretty boring. I didn't do anything. Let me think. I was in Orlando. What was that? What was that? When was I in Orlando? Like last week?
I think
came
last
back
week.
From there, I think. And then, yeah, I didn't do anything.
You just been babysitting the markets?
Not really babysitting, but yeah, just the regular routine, just checking things out, seeing how the markets are moving.
Good.
So, yeah, didn't do too much. So what's going on with this? So for everybody that's watching, what we're going to do is what we normally do is Azzy, Crypto Azzy, she's going to go over the fundamental analysis as far as news and things happening in the market. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to look at the technical side and see where things are moving. So together, we'll try to put a good pulse on what's going on. So the first half of this video, or maybe a little bit more than half, because there's a lot of things that happens fundamentally that sometimes takes a little more time. Azzy going to cover that. And then for the end, the bottom part, I'm going to look at the technicals. We're going to see how our investments are doing in price. So, yeah, Azzy, the floor is yours. Share with us what's going on in this crazy crypto space right now.
Oh, there's a lot. There's always a lot going on. There's always bullish developments, bearish developments, you name it. Projects coming out, partnerships being made. Sorry, did he say something?
No, go ahead.
Yeah. Partnerships being made, projects being launched, developments on the regulatory front. So many things, it's never static. So I'll get right into it. And I'll start with what I consider quite significant, because the World Bank is involved now. The World Bank will start issuing bonds via the blockchain. So guys, just in case you're not aware of what a bond is, it's a fixed income investment. An investor loans money to an entity, so for example, a corporation or government, and they borrow the funds for a particular set of time. And it could be variable interest rate that receive, or it could be fixed. And bonds are used by companies, organizations, states, you name it. They are are able to raise money for different projects and activities. So these owners of bonds are debt holders or creditors of the issuers. So with the World Bank, they decided to partner up with the Commonwealth Bank of Australia, the CBA, to issue a bond over a private blockchain that's built on Ethereum. And what's quite significant as well is that Microsoft is also going to be checking that for its architecture, security, the resilience of it, so that they're involved in that as well. And so the bond, it's called the blockchain offered new debt instrument, or bond I for short. It was actually there were other investor community. There was more support that came in from Northern Trust, the QBE, and the Treasury Corporation of Victoria in Australia as well. So the CBA, the Commonwealth Bank of Australia, they claim this is the first bond globally it's created, allocated, and transferred and managed by the blockchain. So this will be operated by the World Bank in DC, in the States, and the CBA in Sydney. And the whole point of this Bond I is to reduce poverty and promote sustainable development. And this is an area where the World Bank commits something like $60 billion worth of bonds every single year. Now, this is going to be issued December. It was built in a blockchain to issue it. And the CBA, let me break that down. They already completed something like 24 proofs of concepts and trials related to the blockchain. So they actually have quite an important bit of experience. And this is why they picked them to be able to partner with them and build this. And so that's a good indication of their seriousness, and that, you know, the project will, unlike others, will remain on track. And this has the potential to streamline processes. It will improve operational, will make it more efficient operations. It will give more regulatory oversight as well, more clarity, more transparency. It is difficult, though, to implement these over the blockchain. So the fact that they've chosen the CBA to partner up with is very, again, it's very telling. It's quite significant. And we have, of course, seen some blockchain projects out there, but not the size of this, meaning that other banks have tried this out. They've tried to launch their own blockchain platforms for different stages, but we haven't seen a project this big. So the fact that there's also a large amount of money behind it, this is in the billions, also is indicative as well. And we're not clear how much, their commitment, how serious. It is quite significant that they're partnered up together, but we need to see how this develops annually. And this venture, if this is successful, if this project is successful, we're going to see the World Bank choosing to put more money in and scale this up further. So this will be an ongoing project, and it will continue to develop and evolve. And this is basically a trend that will show us that, financial institutions do see the blockchain as a sustainable, viable option for the future to tackle real world issues. So again, we've seen other industries, bring in the leaders in their space, creating hubs and coming together to brainstorm, to come together to have like these mini these trial periods where they try it out, see it on a collaboratory approach, and it has been successful so far. They've seen how much money they can save, how much time, how much transparency there is, and trust is increasing. So this is quite significant, and the fact that they're using the Ethereum blockchain in particular also will lend to that project, to that the coin having more value over time as well, because we're going to see other bodies coming in and using either that platform or perhaps another competitor that is viable for them as well. So that's good news for the space as well as for the different industries. Certainly good news for global citizens worldwide. And again, this is part of a trend of companies, organizations, regardless of their status with, how close they are with global governments or multinationals. They're still going out there and testing it themselves, and they're collaborating and partnering up. And the fact that we're seeing all these partnerships form together, we keep seeing, despite the market, experiencing extended bear market, we're still seeing these partnerships and projects and collaborations increase. And so this, again, on the fundamental side, does give us an indication of what their intentions will be moving forward, because this is being built as we speak. So so that's the World Bank, and the bond itself is projected to raise between 50 to 100 million as well. And also the proceeds will go towards other sustainable development initiatives as well. And just as I mentioned, with tackling poverty, they will continue to increase it and have more scope as well to help other areas. So that is, excuse me, that's huge news. And what's quite significant, again, when I said Microsoft being involved, they're using Microsoft's Azure cloud platform. If you remember last week, I spoke about the ICE, the owner of NYSE, working with Microsoft and Starbucks to create a platform, a startup company called Backed. And Microsoft will be, again, providing, like it does to other retailers and merchants and other companies and organizations, their Azure cloud platform. So again, this is another indication of these big, I mean, it's not to be sneezed at. Microsoft is one of the, giants of the technology, excuse me, of the computing world. And also, of course, they've diversified into other areas that are, there's synergy and it's complementary to their long-term objectives as well. So the fact that they're focusing on cloud platform solutions such as Microsoft Azure's, it again is quite indicative of that. And excuse me, I'm still recovering from the weekend. So Microsoft also carried out an independent review of CBA's blockchain platform to make sure that it's functional, and also more importantly, their security as well. So again, this is definitely good news. And I do foresee more developments with other multinational companies, with non-for-profit organization, NGOs, and other bodies coming together to implement blockchain to help them meet their objectives. So this is great news. So that's the World Bank. And second, the US Treasury. They are working on a platform that will allow an exchange of information in regards to any suspicious or illegal activities within the crypto industry. So so with this, it will facilitate report. I mean, if these exchanges needed to report certain things that were going on, they would report it to the U.S. Treasury is reaching out to the crypto industry, to the industry, to be able to take a proactive approach to stamp out some of the illegal activities that they're speaking of. And it was the director of the FinCEN, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, that said this, Kenneth Blanco. So it's quite big news. I mean, again, this is the official news that we're receiving, but it's also interesting how, of course, they will be looking to create programs, some that will not be published or known, to track investors and the movement of cryptocurrencies across different exchanges. And I'm sure that they're also working on you know platforms like that that will be able to monitor, perhaps for tax purposes, perhaps for just to find out the scope of how much capital is being transferred from traditional platforms to this crypto space. So again, this is quite telling. I mean, we do need to clean up the space. I mean, it's still brand new. But again, I also consider the fact that they're also working on issues and challenges for themselves. How do they tackle the fact that once this goes mainstream, how do they control how do they control as much as they could in their power the citizens gaining this increased power, and if they're not receiving a cut from the windfall from the crypto space, from the profits, from the investments, then of course they're going to look at different ways to tackle that. I'm sure, as with all the facilities, with all the resources they have, that they will develop other platforms and initiatives to be able to do that. And we're trying to this whole space, this whole industry has been partly successful and attracting different stakeholders, because the largest benefit and advantage to the space is it being decentralized and no third party, no government controls this. So it's interesting to see how we're seeing all these different stakeholders come out with their own strategies to deal with what they perceive as challenges to their authority or power. Because if they don't get a grip on this within the next few years, then it may be too little too late. So this is again part of a trend of we're seeing governments, we're seeing departments, we're seeing different stakeholders trying to mitigate some of the costs or some of the disadvantages of this brand new space. So that's what we're seeing with that. And also they are asking the cryptocurrency industry to be more active in cooperating with with other authorities as well, because they're saying this not only just protects investors, it does help to stamp out some of the negative perceptions, with the dark web and bad actors and anti money laundering. Money laundering brings circles that we see as well. So this is something important to watch out for, because we're going to see more of these announcements being made over the course of the next few months, because we are expecting more news to come out on the regulatory frameworks that we are waiting on. So I know in October the FATF will be clarifying to the G20 what their positions on cryptocurrencies will be. So again, we're going to see more developments on that. And it's actually of the fintech, the one that they've just come out for cryptos. There is a similar one for traditional trading operators that they've come up with. It is they did introduce information platform for cooperation between fiat exchanges and regulators. So this is something that functions to, they work with the federal law enforcement agencies to combat money laundering, terrorism, financing, and other financial crimes. So again, just to give you an idea as well, the FinCEN, they received something like 1,000 400 or 500 suspicious activity reports related to cryptos every single month. And most of them are coming from the crypto industry representatives. So, you know, this I think will be helpful to clean up the space. But again, I also see and I read between the lines, and we've seen how they've been trying to scare off you know, mainstream investors and saying, okay, we need to crack down on, we do need to clean up the space. But I think they're also trying to scare new investors or investors that aren't aware of the market in regards to how they come into the space, and they're trying to, you know, instill a sense of fear, I guess it's, or delay going into the space with reasons as to why this space should be taken with caution, you know, approach with caution. So, you know, as we always say, you have to do your due diligence, invest only what you can afford to lose. But they're concerned that there's a lot of, but this is what I don't like about that argument, is they assume that investors won't do their due diligence or their own homework, and that they're not capable of making financial informed decisions for themselves. So therefore you need government to also run every aspect of your, you know, decisions regarding investments. And again, you know, you have to take that with a pinch of salt. And you know, they also have a you know, a lot of things that they face and a lot to lose in terms of not just the financial aspect, but the social implications for this, the political implications for this. So, you know, this is interesting to see, and it will develop over time as well. As we see, they're also working with the IRS as well, to examine something like 30% of the registered exchange coin exchanges as well, and operators over the last 4 years. So this is and also something like 150 financial intelligence units worldwide as well. They're coming together to tackle these issues that they're trying to draw attention to this. So, you know, going on top of this, it's you know, in terms of geopolitical implications, I'm not sure if you guys heard with the Turkish currency, the lira, we did see a crash. We did see it go, it was super volatile. And actually we saw, compared to Bitcoin, it was, you know, it was super volatile because of the rising concerns from investors and ordinary citizens, what's happening with the value of the lira, and they're losing trust, they're losing hope. So they're looking for alternatives, alternative means of exchange. And you know, they're saying that the last 10 days, the swings in the lira relative to the US dollar, it has now exceeded and actually it's more volatile than Bitcoin at the moment. So they're seeing that around the same time that the lira collapsed, the Bitcoin purchases, the price of Bitcoin went up. So there's a correlation. They're saying it's a correlation with that, and that again, they've been saying for quite some time that Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies could be seen as an alternative to governments and institutions where you see the traditional currencies been manipulated and losing value and hurting ordinary folks and people not being able to, you know, especially with hyperinflation, the money that they currently have, that they'll need more of it, and it will be steadily, the value of it steadily erodes. So things become, products and services become more expensive to buy. And we've seen in the case of Zimbabwe where, you know, hyperinflation, they ended up printing banknotes in the, not just the billions, but the trillions of the Zimbabwean dollar. So they had to suspend that and jump on the US dollar and use other basket of currencies to keep the economy going. And we also see the rise of popularity of Bitcoin and the top 5 cryptos. and them being sold for a huge markup on their local crypto exchanges as well, such as Golix. So, you know, this is quite indicative as well. We're also the concern with the Turkish lira and with Bitcoin, they're saying that there's a confusion with Bitcoin perhaps not being compatible with Islam. But what's happening though, the local exchanges are continuing to receive full banking support at the moment. So they're still trying to work out what their official positions is with that. And also people going online and checking, you know, Googling and doing their own research on Bitcoin and cryptos. It's actually exploded in this month. So local exchanges have said just this week alone, over 150%, the volume has increased by over 150%. So, you know, again, these geopolitical factors and how it interacts with, you know, the cryptocurrencies and what this entails, I think there's, you know, we're seeing a shift with countries like not just Turkey, but we're seeing Iran, we're seeing Venezuela, Russia, looking to come up with alternatives to the US dollar or to traditional currencies, where, or even just trying to figure out if they can come up with their own national currencies to perhaps purchase oil or, you know, gold or other products and services, or just to avoid sanctions like we're seeing with Russia and Iran. So again, it all interplays. It all, you know, the fact that we can also see, you know, sometimes spikes in the rise of Bitcoin's price during these political uncertainty and situations and incidences that occur. I see this happen, this continuing and increasing over time, and certainly the local the population, not just investors, but I believe as more citizens get informed of their choices and the fact that they can take back control of certain decisions that the government used to make for them, or they had absolutely no knowledge of their alternatives. This is something that we're definitely going to see being tested and challenged, and the popularity of Bitcoin and cryptos. There will be a knock-on effect, and people will in the future, from what we're seeing with the trends and with the movements of capital, and these different initiatives and partnerships being introduced, we're definitely seeing a challenge to the status quo. We're definitely seeing different ideas being born and implemented and tested. So again, the more people are informed about the space, and the more we're seeing different types of stakeholders with different types of controls and vested interests come into the space, trying to capture the market for themselves, but also, you know, to find real world solutions to these chronic challenges we face. You know, everyone's doing it for different reasons and for, you know, different gains, but it's all coming together. It's all coming together for the industry year by year, regardless of the market conditions. We are seeing all these developments come to the fore. So yeah. So did you want to say something?
Splendid. So
I don't know if you interrupted me to say something, or if you want me to continue.
No, go ahead, continue.
Yeah, so I mean, this is, you know, from my, at least from what I'm seeing, from what I'm researching and noticing, that there again, this keeps drumming you know, certain messages again and again and again, and you have to expect this. Yeah, while we're seeing all these developments coming to the space, we're seeing one thing on the price action, we're seeing another thing in the developments in the space, and you know, sometimes it correlates, sometimes it doesn't, but the fact that all these, you know, different stakeholders are coming in and one way and another looking to find gains or advantages of some sort. Everyone has their own reasons to come into the space, and it's the interest isn't abating. In fact, it's only starting to increase. It's only starting to find its legs. And yeah, so that's with Turkey. Also with South Africa, the rand today, I believe, their it didn't collapse, but it did lose something like 10%, if I'm correct. And again, they're saying it's actually the domino effect of what happened in Turkey. So the fact again, these different national currencies that we're seeing being impacted by geopolitical situations, with different superpowers vying for positions, and Russia, China, India, Brazil, so some of the other emerging economies, and Iran, of course, Venezuela, all of these one by one, they're looking to minimize their reliance on Western, not only Western currencies, but Western influence and control. And if they can somehow use cryptocurrencies or blockchain technology to bypass those those huge players like the United States, the UK, the European Union, that's going to have larger implications for the world as well. So we're definitely going to see a shift in power and control. Yeah, so with also there was something else as well. What would you call it? It wasn't just the South African rand. There was another one as well that was being affected, that wasn't being reported in the news. It'll come back to me, but yeah. So Mexico. So that's what I was going to say. So Mexico as well is the peso is going to be impacted as well, because these currencies like Turkey, with the lira, the rand, and the peso, the volatile and hyperinflationary currencies, they will be targeted, and their citizens will be looking to see what other alternatives there are on crypto assets, cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, that it's definitely going to continue to have a rise in interest and involvement. So yeah, so it just continues to reinforce what we're seeing, the evidence in the space, that that there will continue to be an interest in cryptocurrencies. So yeah, another aspect of this, just to underline that as well, is crypto funds as well. They've been launched at record paces, crypto hedge funds, venture capital funds, and this year in particular, something like actually from now up until, from January the 1st till end of July, there were something like 96 crypto hedge funds being launched. And this is going to, there's more coming as well, I believe. And we had something like 156 crypto funds last year. And I believe something like over 460 crypto funds exist across the globe. But there continues that they're reporting that there's more being developed as we speak, and they're due to be launched over the next 3 months. And that it's not just the pace of these new funds that people are speaking of, it's what it means. So how last year it was considered like the year of Bitcoin or year of cryptos or the year of ICOs, this year is considered as the year of crypto funds. But investors are waiting on regulatory decisions, such as the one with the SEC we're waiting for, and the ETF proposals, the one by VanEck and SolidX is one example. There's several that are the Bitcoin ETFs are waiting for decisions on. They are waiting on those decisions also by the G20 as well, with the global regulatory frameworks. I mean, the volatility does attract investors, but really they're looking for security and stability. Stability on the regulatory front, security on the custodial front. And that is what we're seeing. And these are the big players. And, you know, them coming into the space will, in fact, they're already via the over-the-counter transactions, they're already in a percentage of them have been involved and testing the space, but en masse, the rest of them that are just waiting, based on the demand, the pent-up demand that the money asset managers are experiencing, they're looking to go into the market, but only with these two key issues being cleared up on the regulatory front and on the custodial front. So it's, you know, again, also with, even if it sounds like it's big news with the crypto hedge funds, you have to put it into perspective. I mean, it's only crypto funds, hedge funds, they're only like manage something like over $7 billion. That's still less, that's still small, that's tiny compared to the traditional value of the traditional hedge funds. So again, there's a lot of growth, there's a lot of building to be done, and in particular, you know, with the crypto hedge funds that being launched, is mostly in America, San Francisco, New York, and London as well is involved. So was it Austin, Dallas, San Diego, and so on, Philadelphia. So yeah, so this is big news. Tether as well, they've issued out new tokens worth $50 million. And as you guys know, it's used to manipulate and used as a stable coin when the market is in a downturn. People move their money to Tether, and then when it's in a upturn, it, you know, when they want to move it out and go back to the altcoins or back to Bitcoin, it's been held as a stable coin, but there are concerns about whether there's real US dollars being backed behind it. But anyway, there's more news I can report on, but I'll give you some time, AKing, to step in.
Splendid, Crypto Azzy. Thanks for the fundamentals, the news, the updates. You know, these type of things really keeps things in perspective, in context, which is important. Excuse me. So I'm going to give you guys some painful truths. Hold on. So listen, the market is suffering right now. So mainly because I'm getting all these notifications. So even though I'm giving you guys these price outlooks, I want you guys to understand something very clearly, is that I still believe in the cryptocurrency space long term. But I've been saying for a while that we need to see a lot more bearish movement. So I'm gonna show you guys some charts, show you guys some trades that I'm taking, show you guys some ideas. I'm actually about to get into some new trades because this market is crashing as we speak. Oh man, this is not good. So yeah, this is not fun. You know, because I was thinking with Ethereum, we would at least see 350 on Ethereum, and that did not happen. So that wasn't fun. But and Ethereum is actually back at 300 right now. It was actually 299, and we're actually 220 on Ethereum. So I'm not going to pull up charts right now because I'm actually in, and I have to actually enter trades and do my job.
You know what? If you want to, sorry to interrupt. Do you want to enter those trades right now, and I can still continue to deliver the news.
Go ahead.
Yeah. You just, yeah, no worries. Cool. So guys, in fact, let me give you another story that I heard about Robert Kiyosaki. So guys, comment, I'm going to check your comments in a moment as well. But tell me in the comments, I'm going to do this at the same time. Tell me if you guys have heard of Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad and Poor Dad. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So I'm going to check your messages now. Give me a second. Let me know if you've heard of him. I'm going to assume that some of you have. And for those that haven't, he's an entrepreneur. He's famous for writing a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, where he has his poor dad giving him financial advice, that him having a small mindset about money, and then Rich Dad, who taught him how to invest and how to create wealth. And it was both contradictory advice. So he learned and took those lessons and became successful. But I'm not going to spoil the book for you or the story. So go out there. I'm not shilling for him either, but it's one of those fundamental books you should definitely read to get an interesting perspective on investing, and something called the cash flow for quadrant as well. Yeah, anyway, he so he's described the US dollar as a scam, and he's come out and said Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are the currencies of the people, and that will outlive fiat currency. Fiat currencies, the money issued by governments. And not backed by anything. So he said the dollar is toast, that he's expecting another stock market crash to come through. This time it'll be bigger than 2008. And he says the dollar is toast because gold and silver and cryptocurrencies, they're going to take it out. That it will it will not be in how the power and influence it has will subside unless the government intervenes, the treasury intervenes and changes, or is backed by something. It's looking to subside. We're already seeing huge players getting involved to get rid of their or surpass or bypass the dollar. So, for example, Russia, they're selling off their U.S. debts. They had purchased them and used it as investment, but because of the sanctions that they've been facing from not just America but the UK and Europe, they've been looking for alternative ways and reducing their reliance on the US dollar. And also the US dollar is the reserve currency for purchasing, oil, for example. Even the OPEC countries, the countries involved and they work together to establish and regulate the oil industry. They're looking for alternative ways. They may not, look like, they know the US government and the US dollar at some point will be challenged as well. So they're looking for their own alternatives. And Venezuela in particular, one of the reasons why the US had put sanctions on them is because they are using their their petro dollar to sell their oil and circumvent the US dollar. And this is, again, it's a trend of different stakeholders looking to move from one traditional currency to another, an alternative, a digital version, and that is secure and stable, and it's global. I mean, think of the transaction fees, the money that they'd be saving, and it's more secure, and it's less liable to control because they use the US dollars. They use these currencies to be able to influence and even some people would say bully certain countries into creating policies that's favorable to the United States or to Europe. Yeah, so anyway, he says that Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, it you know it will at some point, once it tackles its challenges, and part of those issues that to do with scalability as well, dealing with the number of transactions, and also security. We've seen hacks, we've seen different issues plaguing these cryptocurrencies. Once those have been resolved, there will be more interest and more involvement, and more adoption of the cryptocurrencies. And he thinks that people are using this as a hedge against imminent collapse of, not imminent, impending collapse of the financial market. And he believes it's Bitcoin is being seen as a digital version of gold, and that they're a better hedge. So he does talk about, it's funny because he says gold, he sees gold and silver, any like tangible, precious resources, materials, he sees that as God's money. And then he says government's money is fiat currency, like the dollar. And it's done by government decree, and you have the people's money. He believes this is cryptocurrencies, the people's money, on the blockchain technology, because it moves the control from the government to the people, because of its decentralized nature. And he says gold, silver is a hedge, Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies is a hedge, and that we will continue to see them becoming more popular. And yeah, so he's known for issuing, controversial financial advice and opinion. And he even said fiat currency savers are losers, and he's calling for a return of the gold standard to the dollar. So in 1971, it was removed by President Richard Nixon. He says, the only way, that the US dollar can have any sort of real value would be to be backed by something. In this case, it'd be better to return back to the dollar. So, he did state previously as well, there would be crashes, and the way the market cycle works at some point, just because of human nature, the cycle of boom and bust, it's typical of that. But yes, he said there will be one that will surpass the 2000 crash and 2008. So you know what? He's not alone in saying that. There's other influential characters that said that. Steve Wozniak, Apple co-founder, he said that Bitcoin was more superior than the US dollar. He thinks that the US dollar is phony. Bill Gates, Goldman Sachs, Nomi Prinz as well. They've predicted financial market crash as well, but they didn't come out with a preference for Bitcoin or cryptos. And if you have watched any of Microsoft Gates interviews in particular, he's been bearish on Bitcoin, but he did mention blockchain technology is a technology of the future, and is something that cannot be stopped. So that's why Microsoft, partly the reasons why they want to do these collaborations and take a proactive approach in this space by with them getting Microsoft Azure to be a player with all of the other institutions coming into the space, other companies. It's looking to get that first mover advantage before the mainstream adoption can take place. So he does understand how powerful a blockchain technology is, but in respect to cryptocurrencies, and the way they are right now, is super volatile and subject to manipulation and so on. But there will be, he does believe long term it will be, it cannot be avoided. It's just an evolution of finance, evolution of money. So he did say, interestingly, Bill Gates did say, when he was asked about whether there'll be, if a financial crisis like 2008, if we're going to see something like that or bigger, he actually described it as a certainty. But obviously it is difficult to time. So we're seeing, we've seen people that are bullish on the space, bearish on the space. We've seen, billionaire, even Warren Buffett take a approach, a negative approach against cryptocurrencies, and he was proven wrong. So not only, it's not just these controversial figures that are saying it, but they're successful in their own right. They've achieved massive amounts of success in different industries, and they know what they're talking about. And in terms of coming in and making these predictions, I mean, no one knows the future, but we can certainly prepare for it as to the best of our ability. So, this is something that Robert Kiyosaki had said, and I found that interesting. And I don't know how many of you guys are aware of him, but I'm just gonna check your comments now and see what you're saying. Give me a moment.
Let me share this piece because we're running out of time real quick.
Sure.
And I'm sure that people want to see.
Okay, I'll check the comments.
Well, I'm not sure if I have time for comments. I have an echo. Hold on. All right, so I still have an echo. I don't know why.
I'll mute my computer just in case it's coming from me.
Is it mute? All right, perfect. Thank you. So the market is actually moving right now. I was shorting my Bitcoin and my Ethereum positions. We got to about 305 on Ethereum. We popped up to about 324. I was thinking that we would have seen at least 350 out of Ethereum. That did not happen. So my long positions, meaning the positions I was buying, those ended up getting closed out. But I was heavier on my shorts, so I hedged my shorts, and I have shorts moving down towards the bottom as well. So I lost very, very small. I think on one of my larger accounts, I lost like $100. So like very, very little money on that long position I take, which I knew was a high risk position, but I really thought that I could get to at least 350 on Ethereum, but Ethereum has different plans. So with that being said, I'm taking Ethereum down to 220. I'm taking Bitcoin down to 4,000. And the rest of the alts I feel like is going to relatively follow suit. The bears continue to assert their dominance. My computer's dying, my cell phone's dying, everything's dying. The market is moving, so I got to get to a charger and make sure that I'm positioned the best way on these trades. So although I do agree with crypto Azzy, as far as the long-term fundamentals, although I do see the evolution of money, at least the argument of the evolution of money, I'm not going to pretend to have this deep introspective view fundamentally on Bitcoin. That's more like Mark and crypto Azzy. So although I do respect those positions, currently price is just really, really weak, really, really depressed. So, yesterday I really thought that we could get a good bounce around 300, and that bounce just didn't come. So, guys, I'm rarely bullish on this market, but I really thought at 300, I mean, everything was overextended. 300 is such a strong psychological level for Ethereum as far as just how people feel about Ethereum. So I really thought we can get to at least 350, 390 being really long, but 350 Ethereum, we couldn't even get you to give us 350. Like I knew when we rejected from 330 how hard we rejected. That was my first sign. So I knew then, but I held in the trade. You got to plan your trade and trade your plan. So, you know, I try not to hop in and out of trades when things get a little shaky. I try to let the trade develop as much as possible. So, and I was pretty heavily hedged, so I wasn't really that worried about it. Like, again, I have a 6-figure account and I lost like $100, so it really wasn't that big of a deal. But it was really just depressing. Like, I couldn't even get 350 out of Ethereum. Not bad, not, you know, ASIC, not, you know, it's not some random coin. Like Ethereum couldn't give me 350. Gosh. So I just think we have a lot further to go. I'm probably not going to go long on this market until we get to the low 200s on Ethereum. You know, there's a saying that as traders say not to catch falling knives. That's exactly what I did. I caught a falling knife and it cut me. So let's try not to get cut anymore. I'm going to let this thing finish bottoming out, and then I'm going to come back in and try to make some money. As far as the cash side, I'm still beating the market, you know, so had you just follow these trades, just on this last move alone, we avoided like 30 or 40%, something like that, as far as discounts, as far as the alts combined, as far as Bitcoin, just by strategically moving. So I try to catch a few points on this bump. It didn't happen. So we're going to reposition, get back at a lower price. 200 has got to give us some support on Ethereum. If 200 doesn't give us support, then I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Like, I'm telling you right now, if we don't get support in the low 200 range on Ethereum, then I just don't know, guys. Like, what's going on out here? Like, nobody's buying? Guys, it's a fire sale, right? Like, nobody's buying Ethereum at $300? Mind blown. My mind is, you know, like I really thought we'd get some buyers. But at 3:30, the way we rejected, I knew then. It happened like late last night. And I said something about it. I was like, man, this 3:30 rejected hard. And I knew then the gig was up. But, you know, I stayed in, and it doesn't matter what you say, it matters what you do. So what I did was I stayed in, and instead of making some money, I lost like $100. But that's a loss I could, you know, sleep well with, opposed to losing, you know, 30%, 40%, 50% of my account. That's something that might be a little more dramatic. So right now I'm short. I'm going to short this market down to 220. I'm not looking to buy Ethereum anymore. I learned my lesson. Not unless I see something really convincing. 220, 200, 220, 250, like somewhere around there, I'm looking for another buy-in. But right now, I'm just going to chill. If something magical happens and we get a bounce, I'm just gonna stay out. You know, I'm gonna stay out the market until we get down to where I think we need to go. And yeah, guys, you know, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, a Debbie Downer. I don't want to spit in anybody's oatmeal, but yeah, I really thought 300 was gonna give us something. And now that 300 has been violated and disrespected, yeah, low twos is definitely on the table. You know, I mean, low twos was always on the table, but I couldn't get a bounce of 300 on Ethereum. Like, that's crazy to me. Like, I know you guys are like, what's wrong with this dude? But to me, it's just crazy we couldn't get a bounce at 300 on Ethereum. That's just crazy. So it is what it is. You know, I don't get them all right. And if I had just stayed out of the market when I left the market at 360 and not been greedy, thinking I could get, you know, 5%, 10% gain, then I wouldn't have dealt with this. So that's the thing with trading. You have to control your fear and you control your greed. And I can't even say it was even greed, but maybe it was. But I just really thought technically we can get a little bit of a bounce. So, and maybe that bounce comes, but the way that it looks right now, I don't trust it. So I'm just going to stay out and just wait till we get to a more suitable price and come back in. So we'll see. You know, we'll see how this thing turns out, how this thing plays out. So my advice right now is look at, you know, 220 on Ethereum as far as a really good accumulation zone to buy some more. So I'm going to try to find, you know, a really good accumulation spot on Ethereum to buy some more. So, and again, guys, everything I do is living and breathing. So sometimes that might change. I might enter the market again. So don't take these videos as financial advice. And then in addition to that, I change my position. Sometimes, like this whole Ethereum thing, you know, I had a stop loss at 300, I think. So I had to, you know, jump out that trade. thing was dumping. So, and re-enter my short. So, it's part of it. It's part of it. So I know a lot of times I talk about all the wins and stuff like that, and I try to be as transparent as possible about the losses, but people really forget about the losses for whatever reason. People focus on what they choose to focus on, and I really have no responsibility over that. So here's a loss. Here's a loss, guys. I lost $100. And the thing is, the long position I was in was worth like $600 or $700. But because I hedged it, and I only lost $100. So, and it was in a downtrend. Hedging is a dangerous thing if you don't know what you're doing. So I wouldn't recommend that to anybody, period. Especially new investors and traders. So, I lost $100 on that trade, and I'm still short. I'm gonna stay short until we get to another level where we could buy. So here's AKing risen, $100 less rich. And I'm gonna try to, make that back and some on the way down. I think this thing's going to 4,800. Your computer. So we'll make some money. When it's all said and done, I feel like we should be able to do at least, 30, 40% profit on the way down. So I'm not really stressed about it. But I'm just disappointed. Like I really thought we could see at least 350. At least. But on the smaller time frames, again, you have to mute Facebook, Azzy, because they're hearing the playback. So like on the smaller time frames, give us like this descending angle, triangle, or a symmetrical triangle, I should say, where it was lower highs and same level lows, and then we rejected hard off 330. So everything was there for me to jump ship, but I held it. I held it because I thought that maybe that we was going to break down out the pattern and then shoot back up, which happens in crypto especially. So that didn't happen. It didn't happen. Like, it's just crazy that 300 at Ethereum, like this market is really, really weak if 300 at Ethereum just gets disrespected. So we're going to see over these next couple of days. I'm not heavy in my shorts. So if the market does pop up, I could handle a drawdown. It's not a big deal. So we'll see over the next couple of days how the market continues to develop. And if I have to, maybe take a small buy, I might consider it. But right now, it's like I'm just going to stay short on this thing until this market bottoms out. So I'm just short. I'm short. We need to atone for 2017. We're grossly overheated still. We're grossly overbought still. And the volatility works both ways. We fly up to the upside or the fly down to the downside. So it is what it is. My computer is about to die, Crypto Azzy. I'll let you finish talking to the good people and break things down. What I'm going to do is share some. Azzy, you have to mute your Facebook because it's going to keep echoing. So like what I'm going to do is I'm going to share some charts. If not in this video, I'll make some new charts to go into the Black Blockchain Investing group. And then, so you guys can kind of just see what I see why I took a long position when I should have just stayed short, and see where the short position, in my opinion, is going to ultimately end up. So, wow.
I was trying to interrupt you and say just before you move to the next subject, you did actually call Ethereum at $320, and you posted you did this online, didn't you?
Yeah, I called Ethereum at 330 and at 300. That was my calls for Ethereum. We got to 330, obviously, and we traded around the 320, 315 range. So I was within a few dollars. I made money that way down and or saved money. But where I miscalculated was I thought we could get back to 350. Like long target 390. But I thought we could at least get back to 350. Like, wow, that was wild. So that didn't happen. I doubt it's going to happen now. The way that we just broke down with vigor and anger. So it doesn't look like we're going to see 350. If we did, I could hold my shorts and it wouldn't hurt me in negative margin. It wouldn't hurt me at all because I'm not overly leveraged. But I think 350 is gone. I think 300 is dead. I think we need to see 220 now. So, but this is all very early. I need to, really go back to my charts, plot things out. I'm on 1%, so I'm about to die. Hold on, let me see if I can charge my phone. Charge this laptop up real quick. Oh. Oh man, I'm in shorts. Put on a collar shirt and I have on shorts. That caught me. Red-handed. So yeah, so it's a little sucky. I thought we could get to at least 350. Sometimes that's just the way it goes. That's just the way it goes. That's how the song plays. But yeah, so I accept it all, the good, bad, and in between. Sometimes I do really, really well, make tons of money. Sometimes I miss it by a couple of bucks. And on this Ethereum drop, I kind of missed it on a couple of dollars. So I had it at 330, 300, and we've seen like 324, 305. So I was in the same pocket, but I was off by a couple of bucks. So, it's okay. You can't be exact to the dollar, but I try to get as close to it as possible. And I feel like I could have gotten a little bit closer. So we're selling now. And yeah, I really want to say something positive, guys. I really want to say something positive as far as price, but I don't see us getting higher in price. I just see things going much lower. And that's, I don't know what else. I don't know what to say. Yeah, so I don't know, man. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to tell you guys. Like, I know there's a lot of crypto enthusiasts in here, a lot of crypto bulls in here. And there's things that I'm learning fundamentally from Mark, from Crypto Azzy, that makes so much sense and is undisputable evidence as to why they're long-term bullish in the space. I just don't see us going up in price. Like, I don't see us going up in price. Like short term, I see Ethereum at $200. Short midterm, that's all relative. Mid long term, I see Ethereum at $60. Like I have a plot that gets me to $60 on Ethereum. $60, We just broke the 350 range, which was, see, this is the thing, guys. 350, 360 was major support for Ethereum. Major. So I'm thinking we're going to retest that level at least once. So this is the problem, is that we didn't retest it. So now I'm worried because we're going to sell, and that at some point we may retest it later. And that's how cryptocurrency's been acting. It's like we'll fly through an area like Bitcoin, for example, and then we're supposed to retest, but we don't retest. And then 2 months later, we fly out of nowhere and retest it. So now I have to be on guard. Like now I have in my shorts, but I have to always watch for a possible news outlet to come out and then retest 350 after we go to 250 or after we go to 225. So now I have to watch this. So, this is the game. I signed up for this game. This is how the game is going to be played. So I accept the game in all its layers. But I really, really, really would have liked to retest at 350, 360. That would have gave bearish confirmation. That would have sealed the deal. That would have ended all arguments. We could have gotten our shorts and sold all the way down, and that's it. It's a done deal. But we didn't retest. We needed the retest. We didn't retest. So now it's anybody's game. Like, we're going to sell, but now I have to keep in the back of my mind there's going to be some price manipulation at some point that's going to get us back to 350. Mark my words, it's going to happen. And then everybody's going to be like, oh, crypto is back. It's the same thing that happened with BTC when we sold over to 5,700. We should have retested at like 7K or something like that. I have a look at my chart, and we never retested. And then we flew back up to 8,500. Everybody's like, oh my God, we're going to 10K. My inbox was blowing up. We're going back to 10K. I'm like, guys, we're not. We're not going to 10K. We're not going to 10K. Like, people are like, you told us you was going to let us know when the market turned around. I'm like, dude, the market hasn't turned around. Yes, this is a pump beyond my expectations because I thought this downtrend was solidified. But when you look at the charts, it's like, okay, we never retested. So yeah, man, it's just, it is what it is. We're going to maximize on these opportunities. We're not going to be victim to the market. So I'm not really stressed about it. But at the same time, I really, really would have liked a 350 retest. It would have been a dream come true if we retested 350. So now I have to, be very cognizant with my shorts. I have to be aware of pumps that could come in that could take us back to that level. So, because it's only so far you could sell. Like, you have to, everything's super overextended. Like, it's only so far you have to sell. Then you have to buy at some point. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Sean T. Sorsby asked, you're planning to short Bitcoin all the way to 4K though. And Dean Richards asked, if you look at the charts for Bitcoin from 2 years ago, could you have seen it hitting 20K 2 years into the future?
No, guys, if I could have seen any chart 2 years in the future, I would not be here talking to you. I'll be on a yacht with all types of entertainment and pleasures. What are we talking about? Like, I can see things maybe a few months. I can see things. Well, let me take that back. So the closer I see things, so let me help you guys understand. Let me rephrase this. In trading is about probabilities, right? So the closer the time frame, the higher the probability. So I could tell you with a great degree of high probability what's happening the next day. I can tell you within a great degree of probability what's going to happen within the next week. I could tell you with a medium degree of probability what's going to happen the next month. I could tell you with a medium to low probability what's going to happen within the next few months. I can tell you with maybe even a lower probability what's going to happen within the next few years. So even if I could see what's happening in Bitcoin 2 years from now, and maybe I could look some Elliott waves and Fibonacci's and harmonic patterns and put all these confluences together to try to give me an idea where price is going to be in a couple of years, I wouldn't put my money on it because the probability, because there's so many what ifs. So trading there's a lot of math involved in trading. So you have to look at a lot of what if scenarios. So, okay, if this hits this at this level, then what if this happens to this? And then what if this happens to this? And this should happen to this. And if this happens to that, then this should happen to this. So there's all these little if scenarios that have to take place in order for us to see the 2-year projection. So that's not really how you make money. So I don't really traffic in trying to figure out what's going to happen 2 years from now. If I can figure out what's going to happen within the next day, within the next week, I'm perfectly fine with that. And then if I have an idea what's going to happen within the next 6 months or the next year, and it plays out, I'm more like, that's pretty cool. Like, I thought that could have happened and it happened. That's pretty nice. There's no way I'm going to be like, Bitcoin's going to be $4,000 on this day and push a button like, no, or Bitcoin's going to be $800 on this day and bet all my money. Like, no, that's crazy. That's crazy. So we'll see. What's the next question?
That's it from the looks of it. That's it.
So can we get a happy birthday for Azmaret? Y'all people didn't show Azmaret no top below. Let's get a happy birthday. Everybody comment happy birthday to Azmaret.
Thank you.
She just turned 25.
25 forever. 25 forever.
Forever. I just turned 45. Like you're getting younger super fast. I'm getting older super fast. By the time we get off the Zoom, I'm gonna be 55.
Guys, can I get a huge amount of likes and hearts for AKing Risen as well, breaking it down for us. And you got to respect, you know what, the truth is the truth. Whatever the market, you know, gives you, yeah, you have to respect that, and you deal with the, you know, the data that's in front of you. So we got to respect that. You know what, this is if this is the timing for the market, if this is what we have to experience, the depression, the despair, the anger, we, you know, we should be celebrating that. We are professional investors. We need to have the mindset of investors. You have to leave everything else, all your other hats, to one space. You have to have your investor hat on and stay calm and you know, work with what we have and prepare for what's coming. So yeah, any final words?
Ethereum is so disloyal. Ethereum is so disloyal. Disloyal.
Did you see what happened with Ripple as well?
Ripple's been taking a crap.
Yeah,
I hope Ripple never comes back. I hope Ripple goes to zero.
I mean, that fear, that lingering fear regarding the lawsuits and whether there's still any
Ripple. Everyone join the lawsuit. Get Ripple up out of here. Get Ripple up out of here. We don't need Ripple in our space. Get them up out of here. Ripple made us some money back in the day. That's cool. Let's let another project make us some money. Get Ripple up out of here. No, I'm just playing. I don't know enough about Ripple to really speak on it like that. I just know some very basic principles about it, which I just disagree with fundamentally as far as what cryptocurrency is supposed to represent and be. So just like government coins, like there's certain things I just don't like, and Ripple is just one of those coins I just don't like. But talk to Azzy more about Ripple. She knows a lot more about Ripple as far as if it's a good coin in her non-advice opinion, non-financial advice opinion. You can talk to her more about it. So my view is very limited, and the limited view that I do have, I don't like it. I don't like Ripple. I don't like it. I don't like what it represents. I don't like Ripple.
Yeah, I mean, there's increased pessimism in it because it's becoming clear that the XRP token, it's not meant to participate apparently in some of the plans that Ripple has for frictionless interbank transactions. And this news has gained momentum, and some of them that are holding and are realizing it may not be that as useful as it was, you know, being reported. And obviously the asset is not security. And you don't have any ownership of the Ripple ecosystem, but you know, the asset, it's not promising future utility. That and that's the concern that they have, because the Ripple network can transfer the funds without the need for XRP coins. So they're saying that the XRP it was probably created as a way to make the project more popular, and this is reflected in the price. It's down by 20. Last time I checked, 28, something like 20 or 30, sorry, 20, between 25 and 30% down just in the last week alone. But it was also to do with the overall news affecting the market as well. So it's not just Ripple down, Ethereum's down, and others as well. So it's interesting. This debate still is going, and it's hurting Ripple. So yeah.
So what are they saying? What do they think about Ripple? What do they think about everything? I guess let's take some questions from the audience. Ask your questions, post your questions. Let's we already went over time, so we might as well give them another 7 minutes.
Oh, thank you. I'm just reading some of the comments. I appreciate the love.
Tiara.
Hi, hi, Tiara. Hi, Michael. Hi, Anita. Hello. Dean Richards. Sean. Izzy Lead. Michael, I think I've mentioned them. Yeah, Latiera makes a point. Nobody wants a government coin, and the concerns they have with it being centralized. Although they've had a lot of institutions and banks and other companies join in and sign up, and they've got other partnerships in the pipe work. The lawsuits are definitely affecting Ripple. Hi, Greg. How are you doing? Yeah, we are over time, guys. Sorry to cut you guys off, but we gotta wrap it up now. But we just have to in respect to where we are in the market right now, we just have to have patience, and we have to continue doing our own due diligence, because as great as a project is, as great as the partnerships are, as great as the developments are, we have to, we have to approach this with a sense of we have to be cautiously optimistic, and not react too emotionally with any type of news. Even though I'm bullish long term in the space because of the collective evidence coming out and the work's being done, I still believe in diversifying my positions and the projects, and taking as much advice from different sources, and having a healthy regard, a healthy skepticism at some points as well. But the fact that we're seeing hash rates go up despite the bear market, the fact that it's setting record after record, the mining rates increasing, the things like that, like governments and institutions and different power players coming into the space at this bear market. Like the whole year has been mostly in a bear market, and the fact that all of this work is still continuing, is still working, especially behind the scenes, that gives me I this is not financial advice, not investment advice, but regardless of what comes out news-wise or development-wise, or governments and them working on the regulation, you need to make sure you have your assets allocated properly, your position sizes even, and making sure the money that you invest in the space is your disposable income, is the budget that you've set aside for investing. It's money. If you were losing tomorrow, if like Vitalik Buterin, if every single crypto went to zero, are you prepared to take the loss? Are you prepared to take that?
Here's my thing. Here's my thing, though, is that that's exactly what we should be doing. And I had this conversation somewhere else, and like the problem is that like when crypto does explode and a lot of us are spending our disposable income, then like we're missing out on so much of that upside. And the FOMO in cryptocurrency is so mad real. So like I know people, like for instance, got into Ripple when it was like 20 cents last year. They just threw like $100-200, didn't know what it was. They made a few grand. They're like, damn, like I really could have put in 1,000. I really could have put in 2,000 and crushed it, but I didn't know. And I just invested what I could afford to lose. So that's what my outcome was. So it's like, how do we communicate investing what you can afford to lose, but then when things do go well, communicate you did the right thing, when there's thousands, if not millions, for some people who's a little bit more affluent that can invest 5, 10, 15K, whatever. Like, how do we communicate that to them without them having that FOMO? Like, what would you say to that?
You know what? I don't care what the market conditions are like. Never bet your house. Never bet your rent. Never bet anything. I don't care how favorable anything is. You need to be you have to think like an investor. You have to put up, even when you look at the stock markets and some of the biggest players, they're only putting in a percentage of their allocated funds. They're not putting 100% in. They're not putting 80% in. They've got a clear strategy on how they're going to build wealth overall long term. And that means taking a diversified approach. If they specialize in certain areas, even within that, they take they practice good risk management. And that's the key. You want to protect your not only your existing capital, but you want to slowly and securely build upon that on your profits and compound that over time, you know. And making sure you have that peace of mind is important. Why you want to be stressing? You shouldn't be in the space if you're going to be stressing or crying or having to watch coins every single second, minute, hour. You know, if you are a true enthusiast and you want to learn about the space, by all means, devote as much time as you can. But you should not, by any shape or form, be stressing or worried. The second you are, that means either the space is not for you, or you have to develop some mental strength. You have to start now and ask the right questions.
And
But
to extend on that is that if you're stressing about your positions, they're too big. And
exactly.
all the trades, like there's times where like I'll get in the position and I'll feel really good about it. And then when I'll get into a little bit of drawdown, meaning the trade is moving against me, and I'm looking at the dollar amount that I'm down by, and I'm like, whoa, like this isn't feeling great, because I went too heavy in that position, because I was too top heavy. So if you invest in anything and it makes you nervous, makes you uncomfortable, makes you anxious, you can't sleep well, you can't eat well, you're too involved. And it doesn't matter what type of upside is ahead, you're gonna see everybody, this coin's gonna 10x, this coin's gonna 100x. Oh my God, it drives me crazy. Like, guys, it drives me crazy. I have this conversation online all the time, and I feel like the conversations get dumber and dumber. It's like, how do you go from stupid, have you seen the movie Dumb and Dumber? How do you go from dumb to dumber? You know, it's like, it doesn't matter. So if a coin was $100 in November and that coin is $10 now, it doesn't mean it has to go back to $100. It doesn't mean it has to go back to $100. Just because it did something before, it doesn't mean it has to do it again. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't. It does not mean that. So people look at, oh, Bitcoin, we're 75% off. There's a reason why we're 75% off. You know, like when you go to a grocery store, they have a sale. They're not just discounting their goods for the fun of it. They're discounting it for a reason. Maybe that supply is of excess, a la Bitcoin. maybe they're in excess of a particular product. Maybe that product isn't selling well. I mean, a number of reasons. So there's a reason why things are discounted. So don't look at what it was, look at what it is. Or don't exclusively and individually look at what it was, look at what it is. The same outlook that you have in your brain that Bitcoin can be a 100K coin, you have to look at why can Bitcoin not be a 1K coin? Why can Bitcoin not be a $100 coin? So I'm not saying Bitcoin's gonna be 1K. I think it's a possibility. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is I'm having those conversations. What I am saying is I'm having those thoughts. If you only see up, if you can only see an upside to anything, you're destined to crash. Just a matter of time. There's always going to be a downside to everything. Nothing moves up forever. Nothing. Mm-hmm. So like, especially in a new developing market. So there's some things like certain stocks, certain indexes that historically will perform well over time. Let's be honest. So I'm not saying that as a totalitarian view, but everything that moves up has to come down at one point or another. Rather it's a discount, rather it's rather it's returning to the mean, rather it's going back down to zero. That's all that I'm saying. I'm not saying something can't uptrend forever, because that wouldn't be, well, nothing can uptrend forever. But I'm not saying something can't go in a up cycle forever. I mean, so over the course of 10, 50 years, 100 years that it goes up, like I'm not saying that, but anything that uptrends will downtrend. That's just what it is.
It has to correct, yeah.
It has to. Nothing just moves up parabolic.
It's in cycles, yeah.
Why aren't we having those conversations? Like, do we have to wait for Bitcoin to be 6K to have those conversations? Whether wait to Bitcoin to be 4K for us to have those conversations? Like, why don't we have those conversations? So invest wisely, invest at your discretion, invest at your own risk. Don't follow my advice. Don't follow Crypto Azzy's advice. We're not giving you advice. We're just giving you our narrative, our position, our thoughts on a market. Her position is long-term bullish. My position is long-term bullish, maybe, but definitely short-term bearish now. That's my position. And cryptocurrency and Bitcoin needs to earn my freaking money. I'm not going to just give Bitcoin my money because it's Bitcoin. I'm not going to do that. It's not paying me dividends. Why would I just give Bitcoin my money just because it's called Bitcoin and it's in limited supply? That's the
Look, you know, at the end of the day, even if you look at the historical records of different markets, the Nasdaq, the Dow Jones, people that dollar cost average, investors that have had a long-term view, and invested, and they didn't just invest in certain stocks and shares or commodities. They took the approach that they're going to be investing money that they can afford over time, and that there's eventually all the risks will meet at some point, all the negative situations that come through its journey will be absorbed in. But you're essentially taking a risk. You don't know what's going to happen in the future. The key to this is, how do you mitigate risk? How do you position yourself so regardless of what happens to the market, what happens to the space, you took a position or positions, and you have diversified, you have spread your risk across different asset classes, across different projects within one asset class, and across different time and even different markets. So that's just a sensible approach you need to have, and more importantly, you need to have a long-term view. Don't come into this market looking to make a quick buck, because you will lose. I can't tell the future, but just that if we look at the evidence of how people have invested, and that's how the money gets transferred from the impatient to the patient. Have a sensible approach, and make sure in order to win in the space long term, you can once you've taken those positions, you're able to succeed long term because of your approach, your mental approach. And because remember, if you're stressed, you're more likely to sell off when the prices come, like you will be tested when the price goes down. If we see a 1K per Bitcoin, how will you feel? How will react? There's going to be a lot of people that did have a game plan to hold long term, even 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. Guess what? Those same people will sell off because they got scared. So
see, my thing is, like, I have a lot more of a pessimistic view, if you will, because like, in order for me to hold something for 5 years, I need to see, or better yet, let me pull back. In order for me to hold something for 10 years, because I think Warren Buffett says, like, if you're investing in something you don't plan on holding it for at least 10 years or 20 years, you shouldn't be investing in it. Is that correct? It was 10 years?
Yeah.
Somebody who knows that saying, post that in the comments. I hate to misquote somebody, especially Warren Buffett. But like, I don't have 20 years of historical data on Bitcoin. How long has Bitcoin been around? What, 7 years?
Since 2008, well, January 2009. So it's going to come to a decade next year.
So it's going to be 10 years next year.
January 2009, when the white paper got published, yeah.
Got you. So we're coming up on 10 years. So Bitcoin may be the only exception to that. Like Bitcoin, so if I'm looking to long-term invest, Bitcoin may be the only, if we're just looking at historical data, Bitcoin may be the only thing I can invest in as a long-term investor. I mean, technically, like Bitcoin's the only thing that's giving me enough data, arguably, and me personally, maybe not enough, but if you want to make the argument, Bitcoin may be the only thing that's giving us enough data to make a long-term investment play on. But all these alt projects, they haven't. They've been around 6 months, a year, 2 years, and we're long-term investors. Like, let's pump the brakes for a second. Let's just pump the brakes and let's just step back and let's take a breather and say, okay, Bitcoin maybe Bitcoin deserves my long-term dollars, but these altcoins, let's see what happens here. You know, let me move my money strategically, try to reposition, because I don't know if these altcoins deserve our respect, even though, like, if you look at the technology and the utility, like Ethereum, how could you argue against Ethereum if you're long-term on Bitcoin? Ethereum's $300 right now. Ethereum's high was $1,400. So as much as I love Ethereum, I have to treat it the same because I'm disciplined. I'm disciplined. I have a lot of time for cryptocurrency. I'm in no rush. If someone buys Ethereum right now, $300, and it shoots to 400, I have no problem with that because I don't know enough about Ethereum historically wise. Like how can I say this about Ethereum? So if Ethereum went to 1,400 crash, went to 2,800 crash, and went to 15,000 crash, like if that's just what it does, that's just what it does. But I need to see more. And ideally, I would like to be in a market that doesn't discount 75, 85, 90% every other year, ideally. So I would like to see some stability in price so that when we are pulling back, we're not pulling back 75, 85, 95%. So I was just looking at a coin. The high of that coin was $20 and it's $1 right now. I forgot which coin that was. I should have took a note on it. It was the high on it was $20 and it's like $1 right now. I don't think it was Ontology. It was something else I was looking at. So it's like, how can we make these wild assumptions as being disciplined long-term investors on such a new technology and emerging market? So it's good for us to have a preference, a bias. We're obviously lovers of cryptocurrency. We could be lovers in our hearts, but let's be investors with our wallets and say, okay, if Bitcoin is downtrending, maybe I might make some exceptions for Bitcoin if it's downtrending. Maybe if you believe over the last 10 years you have enough data to support and you have enough fundamentals to support that it's going to be long-term bullish. If that's your position, I'm not going to argue with you. I can't find the reason of holding something that's worth 20K down to 6K. But if your position, your argument is, I've watched this over the last 10 years and I'm comfortable it's going back up, then I can respect that. I can't respect that for the altcoins though. I can't. I'm like, dude, you don't know. Like, you don't know. And not saying that you will ever know, but you don't have enough data to even come to a high probability sense of disciplined investing, in my view. So I refuse to hold a altcoin in a downtrend. I don't trust them as far as I can throw them. I refuse to hold a altcoin. I will never hold an altcoin in a downtrend. It will never happen. It will never happen. It won't. So when we start uptrending, I'll start looking to hold some positions. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah.
I'm not buying altcoins in a downtrend that's been around for a year or 2 years. Like, I just think that's so idiotic. I just think it's idiotic. Not the people practicing it, just the mentality. And I honestly believe institutional money created HODL. I swear to God, I really think big banks, institutional money, manipulators, and market makers created the HODL campaign. The same way Black Lives Matter. Same thing. Oppressive money pushing agendas that we think serve us. So, like, I'm always the contrarian. I'm always going to take the opposite approach and ask the next question, like, who came up with this HODL strategy? Whose idea was that? Whose idea? HODL became popular in, like, what? And I don't want to misquote, but and again, I'm relatively new to the space. I bought my first Bitcoin around what, 1200, Azzy, or 1700. When did we first get in Bitcoin?
Yep.
Somewhere around there. So like, when did HODL start? December of last year? Like, I don't know. Like, I would love to know when HODL became popular, and maybe one of you guys can educate me on that, because I don't pretend to know everything. I don't even pretend to know most things, but I do pretend to know a downtrend. I do pretend to know when something's forming lower highs and lower lows. And that's something I could demonstrate in a factual manner to others.
Yeah, just to add to, well, it was actually a spelling mistake, in case anyone was wondering what HODL was. It was a word.
When did it start? That's what I want to know.
Oh, when
did HODL start?
Oh,
does anybody know? Comment in the video. When did HODL start? Because I feel like it started December of last year. I feel like the CBOE started HODL.
No. It was longer than that. All I know is that it was started in a forum by another investor.
When
I can't remember the exact date.
But it was 2017, like early 2017?
It was not. It was way before that.
Really?
But yeah, I remember reading a piece on that. But what I was, I just can't remember the exact year. But what I was going to say is, guys, even if you look at Bitcoin's history, the fact that it died over 300 times and it lost
292 on Ethereum. Ethereum was bleeding out. Jump the ship. Ship.
All right. So it lost anywhere from 70, 80, 90% of its value, and then it went on to create all-time highs and then beat and set new records up until we saw
Ripple's taking a whooping. I'm sorry, Azzy.
Until we saw what happened last year, it's parabolic to 20K. That's still not an indication. That's still not a guarantee that we're going to see Bitcoin go to 100,000, 500,000 per Bitcoin. We are just speculating at this stage, and we're using the evidence, collective evidence of developments and investments coming into the space. We are making educated guesses. However, it being a revolutionary technology, a transformative technology, and yes, it does carry a far larger risk than other sectors. However, this is why we need to have an approach that, we must consider what happens if it does go to zero. We must consider what happens if it goes to 100,000 per coin. What AKing is trying to say is, why do we have our mind focus on one set of outcome when there's still probabilities of different types of outcomes? That's why, we have to think strategically and have game plan for any type of eventuality. We need to hedge our bets.
Big facts. So
that's he's not, saying that he's not taking a fully negative approach and saying this technology doesn't work. He's not saying that at all. He's saying this is what he's witnessing with the markets on the
sell
charts.
your coins.
Not financial advice, but listen though, hashtag not financial advice, but listen though.
I'm really having fun, but
we are trying to.
On a serious note, I would never tell them to sell their coins, and anybody that knows me knows I have a much more balanced approach. I'm trying to accumulate, and you guys know that, and people that know me at least know that I have a much more balance. I'm just having fun. But what isn't fun are the people that did invest too heavily and that are really hurting on their accounts. Now, that isn't fun, and I take that very, very personally, because a lot of people have reached out to me and shared with me their stories and the kind of, less than perfect judgments that they made and where they are right now. So I take that really, really seriously. So, and I hope that with these videos, I just kind of help inspire a different means of thought, and then just, give you context. So I have a lot clearer picture of what's happening now in the next couple of weeks versus what's happening in the next couple of years. And I know that our people, being Black people, we need to benefit more on the short-term interims if we can and when we can, than necessarily the long-term perspectives when it comes to cryptocurrency. And that's my opinion. It's just an opinion. And my opinion is that most of us in terms of the operating body. Now, there's a lot of Black people that have money, so don't get that messed up. I'm not saying by any means we're poor people, because we have money.
We have money, 1.3 trillion a year spent by us.
Yeah, so we have tons of money, our purchasing power. But I personally come from very humble beginnings. I grew up in the hood. I grew up with people that, so when I speak, I'm really speaking for people that come from my circumstances and conditions. I'm not speaking to the doctor. I'm not speaking to the chiropractor. I'm not speaking to the realtor that sells, 5 houses, 10 houses a month. Like, you guys are great. Spend your money whenever, however. I have no critique or criticism. I'm really speaking to the person that has $100 and they don't know when to put in, whether it's today or maybe next week. Or I'm really speaking for that person. So that's where most of my narrative is. Crypto Azzy, her narrative is more so of the not institutional, but more of the more accredited investor, a person that can wait 5 years, 10 years, that investing what they can afford to lose could be thousands of dollars. Whereas the person I'm speaking to is the person is investing what they can afford to lose may only be $50 or $100. So I don't want that person coming with $100 and watch that $100 go to $20, because that's a phone bill that they needed to spend. That's a grocery bill that they needed to spend. So it's total different things. I want you guys to understand that. So you know where you fit in. If you are coming from a place, and you don't have to, nobody's asking questions, nobody's on trial, you don't have to disclose anything. But if you feel where I'm coming from, as far as not having it all and just being able to make the most out of your pennies, then you might identify with me more. If you're comfortable, you have your house, you have things set up, you might identify with Crypto Azzy more, because you don't want to bother with all these ins and outs and dips and ups. Like you feel educated on the market, and you feel like where the market is going, or at least a high probability where the market is going. So it's not a one size fit all. I'm not by any means discrediting a person of affluence that puts in 10,000 on 10 BTC at 10K and says, you know what, I'm gonna go to sleep and I'm not worried about it. Bless your heart. Like I'm not criticizing you, but this is what my position again is for the person that can't do that. The person that just can't put $100 a week every single week. Like try to give that person a better idea of where this market is trending. So take what you want, don't take anything at all. It's not financial advice by any means. Just to give you guys perspective. So I take the pains of my people deadly serious. I'll fight over that. I take that deadly serious. But I also say sensational things because it's funny and it's catchy and people pay attention to it. And if I can get your attention, then I can educate you. If I just educate you, you're not going to listen, statistically. So understand, like, don't ever get it messed up. I want us all to win, even the holders with a hodl mentality. I want them to win. So I want everyone to win. If you're a Black person in the space, I want you to win. If you're a non-Black person, I want you to win. But I really want my Black people to win. So I don't care what your strategy is. I just want it to work for you, and that's where I stand on that.
Let me tell you, because this is funny. I didn't remember the year because it's back in 2013. So thank you, Dean, for posting that link about hodl. You asked for when. It was 2013, and the guy was drunk, and he didn't know.
You sure it wasn't Jamie Dimon? I think Jamie Dimon came home. I'm pretty sure it was Jamie Dimon, Chase, Wells Fargo, because Wells Fargo, all types of corrupt. Wells Fargo and Chase, they came up with hodl. Chase called up Wells, is like, hey, right after you get finished, scamming people on malicious, applications, let's go hit this cryptocurrency market and hit them with this hodl thing.
I knew it was in a forum. I just didn't know what year. And
Thank you. Richard posted it. Dean.
Yeah,
Dean Richards.
Dean
Thank
Richards.
you, thank you, guys. Thank you for educating me on that. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So yeah. So.
Wow.
Yeah. So it then became a strategy and a philosophy over the course of the years. Yeah.
That's crazy. Thank you, Dean.
Yeah. So we're actually well over our time. It's coming up to 2 hours now. I hope you got plenty of value from that. And AKing, any final words? I know you're losing your hair over Ethereum.
So listen, we need to have a song when the market bottoms out like this. Like we need to like sing on the way down. Because you know there's
Burn,
nothing more.
burn, baby, burn, disco
No. So here's the thing. It's gonna be Chris Brown. These criminals ain't loyal. Either that or we're gonna do that Usher. Let it burn. Which one is gonna be? Or we need a good, what's a good burn song? Like maybe
you
we
know
need
what?
to maybe like a rock song. Like I know there's good rock songs for burn.
AKing, let them vote in the comments. Let them put up a song.
Right, listen, vote in the comments. What's gonna be our theme song as
for next week?
Currency discounts.
For next week.
So right now, you can nominate. I have Usher, Let It Burn, Chris Brown, These Cryptos Ain't Loyal.
Burn, baby.
So you guys
burn.
let us know.
Disco Inferno. Or another one.
Yeah, I come up with something. But yes, it's going on 2 hours. So this was fun. Thank you, Crypto Azzy, for entertaining my craziness. Thank you again for all of the great fundamental news and letting us know what's going on in this market. So, you know, keep educating. I'll keep, you know, doing what I do, and let's just keep having fun until we get to the bottom of this. But I honestly believe now, even more than ever, we're all going to do well in the space when it does bottom out, come back up. I still have that belief. I don't have that conviction. I'm not a convicted fool where I'm like, this is definitely happening for sure. But I do have the belief that we are watching an evolution of money. And you schooled me, Mark Moss has schooled me as far as a long-term projections, not projections, but an evolution of it. And I'm actually doing more research and reading more as far as the fundamentals, because it's good. It's good to be well-rounded. Guys, I can have a position, but never think I'm just married to anything I think. Like, I'm always trying to learn. I'm always trying to get better. I'm always trying to benefit from smarter people, wiser people, people that spent years in specific spaces. So how can I argue fundamentals with Crypto Azzy? How can I argue fundamentals with Mark Moss? Like how? Like how? That's ridiculous. I can have an opinion on the fundamentals, but they come to me and say, hey, Yusuf, this, and this, and this. I'm gonna have to take that very seriously, do my own research, and then come around. So definitely I'm trying to evolve, and I want you guys to evolve, do more research, more homework, more research, more homework, and let's continue to evolve. So as of right now, I still have a long-term bullish bias, and as I dive further in, I have a suspicion that those biases are going to be reinforced. So I still feel great about the space. If I didn't, I wouldn't recommend it to my people. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody, especially my people. So I still feel great about the space. I don't make recommendations, by the way.
Wait. Sorry to interrupt. Michael Lil said the roof is on fire.
We don't need no water. Let that mother burn. I like that one. I like that. We might have to use that one.
That's a good one.
So every time we sign off, the roof is on fire. We don't need no water. Maybe hit a dab on them too. All right, I'm done being silly. I'm done talking. Anything else, Crypto Azzy, is all yours.
That's it, guys. Just be patient and stay in the game. Don't take any crazy risks, and yeah, just keep being informed.
Cool beans. Peace, family. Love. To the next time.